Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing very well. Today we're in the JF-17 and we're looking at air-to-ground, gunnery and unguided rockets. So if we go to our armament menu, our gun is internal, it's a twin-barreled 23mm cannon. Gun ammo set at 100%, that is 180 rounds. Rocket pods can be carried on pylons 2, 3, 5 and 6 in the form of a BRU twin adapter carrying 2 times LAU 68 pods, each carrying 7 times 2.75 inch rockets Mark V with a HE high explosive warhead, or a single pod carrying 16 number 90mm rockets. It doesn't say what the warhead is, but I'm going to guess it's high explosive. So we'll go for a mix of both. So this config will give us a total of 32 90mm rockets and 28 2.75 inch rockets and the gun.
Request rearming.
I'll now install my data cartridge and set up the SMS as standard practice. So let's get to work. First, master arm is going to go on. Next we'll look at today's controls. Air to ground mode to activate air to ground mode. Fire main gun for the gun. And push and hold weapon launch for the rockets. So air to ground mode, you can see we are air to ground CCIP there. First of all, we're going to choose our gun from our SMS page. So we're going to click gun there and wait for it to stop flashing, at which point it will be selected and ready. Once it's boxed, it's now being used as the active weapon. Now we have to feed it with ammunition. We can use the feed 3 times, and we may use them if the gun jams, which is a very real thing. Once it stopped flashing, we are fed. The aiming mode will always be CCIP for the gun. The limiter is the amount of seconds that we can do a burst for. We can have 0.2 seconds, 0.5 seconds or off. I suggest never using off. If you do that and you do a long burst, you almost always jam the gun. It's just what happens. And then you have to use the feed to unjam it. Breakaway altitude here. So we can set a radar altitude here at which the HUD will tell us to break away with a cross through the HUD. So if we clicked on that, say if we want to break away at 600 feet, 600 radar, and what happens if we go below 600 feet, a cross will come through telling us to break away. Fuse, we don't need to fuse the gun, and we've got the gun selected. We've got 180 rounds of ammunition. So we'll locate the target. Our dive profile will be, depending on our loadout, between 350 and 450 knots CAS. In a dive between -10 and -20 degrees pitch. Note that if we're attacking heavily armoured targets, then a steeper pitch will be required to hit the top of the target, but that's pretty rare. Let's see if I can find some targets now for us. Speed up. Okay, target spotted. We're just getting them in within our pitch gate. On speed now. So we can see our radar altitude there. Our range from us to where our CCIP gun pipper is pointing, which is going to be the cross there for the gun, which is 2.2 nautical miles. Our current closure rate on that target, we can see that we've got air to ground selected, CCIP, gun is ready, so gun is selected and master arm is on. All we're going to do is put the cross on the target and pull the trigger. And ranging is critical. The closer we get to the target, needless to say, the tighter the bullet spread will be and the more accurate we can get the shot. But you have to balance that with the threat of the target. Now, these targets here are 0 threat, so we can get basically as close as we want. The only threat we've got is actually running into the ground. But if they were a bunch of ZSU-23s or Vulcans or something, you've got to balance that. You don't really want to get within about 700 meters of a target like that. So range will depend on the target. Again, with speed as well, generally the better armed the target, the faster we're wanting to go. Also, it's a good idea if there's any chance of any type of guided anti-air, then we're going to send a chaff and flare program out as well. Let's have a quick pop at the wall. Let's have a pop at these guys. It's just going to be a squeeze of the trigger. It will allow us up to half a second of fire. Get nice and close because these guys are not going to fire back. Whoops, a little bit short there. Let's go around again. When we go around, don't be tempted to do an Immelman and go straight back in. Get distance, get 4 or 5 miles. Do it properly. Get the altitude, and the altitude we want is at least 5,000 AGL feet, so you can use your radar altimeter here or your barometric if it's zeroed. We're going to power on until we get up to altitude and turn into a proper run. Okay, with 5,000 feet radar, just putting ourselves within our pitch gate now. On power. Right, let's try and do a bit better. We don't really need to strafe over the target like I did there. What we can do is pretty accurate cannon. Just put the cross on the target and it should hit. Oh, I think I got him. Next, we'll go out for our next run and we'll start with the rocket. So we're going to deselect the gun. We're going to select our rocket. So we'll press here weapon. We can have the Mark 5s or the 90s. We're going to go for the Mark 5s in this case. They will flash standby until they're ready and they're now armed. CCIP is our only aiming option. How many do we want to go out with the press and hold of a trigger? Well, why don't we say 4? The interval between each of those 4 rockets leaving the launcher, 0 would mean they all salvo at once, or I can ripple them, so I can have a certain time between them, and I can ripple them. I'm going to say I don't know, 30 milliseconds between each one. We may or may not notice in that amount of time. Brake altitude's gone back to 492, but that will do. I'm going to fuse these with the E-fuse, and that's it really. The only difference is we're going to use a different CCIP pipper, but otherwise the ingress is going to be the same. We want at least a 5,000 foot AGL dive, 10 to 20 degrees. Range again, exactly the same parameters. The closer we get, the more accurate, but depending on the threat type. Okay, diving in from 6,500 radar. This time we're going to be pressing and holding weapon release until the salvo or the ripple is complete. This is our CCIP pipper this time for the rockets. So we're just going to get nice and close again. For some reason I didn't kill those guys with that gunnery. I don't know why. Pretty sure I hit them. Okay, 1.5 miles. Press and hold weapon release until ripple complete. Boom! Gotcha! Very good. That's that. And for the fun of it, why don't we use our 90 mils? And these are much more powerful, so we're just going to use a quantity of 2. We're going to have an interval of 0 this time, so it's a salvo rather than ripple. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. Let's get a few miles, 5,000 feet, and go in again. Okay, 6,500 feet in our pitch gate. Power on. Find some targets, some nice juicy targets. I'll do a few ripples in this case, just for fun. Sorry, a few salvos. Regards maximum range, I mean, there's not really such thing, but again, the further out the range, the less accurate everything is going to be. So, 1.5 miles. Start peppering from here. Pow, 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 boom! And we have literally nuked the world. So that's it. That is unguided rockets and cannon for air-to-ground use. Hope that was useful, and see you later.